It's time now for the second programme in the series highlighting times when things didn't go exactly as planned. It's presented by Jonathan Hewat. Yes? OK. Can I take that again?
No, because that's what this programme's all about. Those rare but special moments on the radio when clangers briefly rule. OK.
2 minutes to 9, Saturday the 24th of March, and time now for our morning massage from Father Anthony O'Dowd, who's the parish priest of the Roman Catholic Church of Christ the King in Ferreting.
A good reporter looking for answers homes in with deadly accuracy on the man with all the relevant facts at his fingertips.
Will you be offering season tickets this year? Yes, we shall be offering season tickets.
I wonder how he'd answer a difficult question. But there's quite a skill in asking the sort of question that produces a good, comprehensive reply.
When do you do your Christmas shopping?
At Christmas.
Isn't it marvellous how direct youngsters can be?
What do you actually use to build a sandcastle?
Sand.
Of course, it is possible to phrase the question so carefully that there's every chance of avoiding that kind of embarrassment.
Now, obviously, Reverend, you don't like the idea of these prep schools being used as fashionable schools for middle-class parents, but do you really think that it matters whether or not they believe, the parents themselves, in a Christian education as such? I mean, would you be happy if they particularly wanted and believed that the Christian or the Anglican sort of education was right for their kids? Would you like to see the church schools remain in that case, as long as you were convinced of their sincerity, rather than the fact that they were doing it simply because it was a middle-class fashionable thing to do?
That's a very good question. I don't know.
Neither do I. Brevity is generally regarded as an asset in any form of broadcasting. Unlike the printed word, the listener can't stop and go back to the beginning again. So, short sentences solve that problem.
Having now received Israel's reaction to the Egyptian counter-proposals to Israel's proposals, which followed Egypt's reaction to the Israeli principles conveyed to President Sadat by Dr. Kissinger following his meeting last month in Washington with Defense Minister Mr. Moshe Dayan, the American secretary, known as Hustling Henry, to the exhausted journalists accompanying him, is now on what may, or as is just as likely, may not be his final round.
And that may or may not, on the other hand, be one of the world's longest sentences, full stop. Terrific, full stop. The other day, a colleague of mine was sent out to cover the story of a demolition. He arrived just in time for the main action, but manages to give the impression that he knows exactly what's going on.
Already, the bulk of the building has been knocked out by the contractors, leaving just the shell and the upper stories, but it'll still make quite a bang when it comes down.
You better run behind the toilets, lads. Run behind them toilets there. When you're ready, right.
Bang.
Yeah, I think we got that bang beautifully. How did it go?
I don't think I've ever come across such a perfect bit of accidental timing. Although my collection of clangers keeps growing, like Topsy, there's always a few that get away. One such was a very formal outside broadcast of a military tattoo, and a senior colleague was doing the commentary. In deeply reverential tones, he told me, he not once, but twice referred to the Royal Arse Hortillery. In the absence of the actual recording, which my colleague assures me he didn't destroy himself, we'll have to be content with a little bit of music now.
Well then, how about that? It is not our day, as they say. We quickly flipped into another tune, and I think that one was actually the Dam Busters March, one of Kenneth Orford's great marches. I wonder if we can go back to the British Grenadiers, because it is rather nice. I did enjoy singing it. Here we go.
And talking of music, you do get some mighty strange instruments in the world of classical music on Radio 3.
the anonymous French La Quinte Estampée Reale, taken from Music from the Crusades, David Munro Shawm and James Blade's Knackers.
From the mysteries of medieval music on Radio 3 to the genteel games top people play on the manicured lawns of the family's stately home. You don't have a stately home? You don't even have cucumber sandwiches? Well, now's your chance to kit yourself out.
An island paradise in Poole Harbour is up for sale with an asking price in the region of £500,000. It's 31-acre Furzy Island. The island, which has a resident population of more than 60 rare red squirrels, has 3 homes, including the 7-bedroom main house with swimming pool and a crochet lawn.
Delightful. And if you fancy buying that, knit your brows and brush up on the rules of croquet.
The sort of croquet that most people tend to play in their back gardens is really what's called golf croquet, in that the aim is to get your balls through hoops and knock your opponent into the shrubbery. In association croquet, the idea isn't to knock your opponent's balls into the shrubbery, but to use them in order to make what are called breaks.
And you play both kinds of croquet with mallets and malice.
In garden croquet, I've noticed that this aspect of the game tends to make it rather malicious or mischievous. Do you think there is this side to croquet?
Certainly there is. Some of the exponents trying to make out that there is not. Splendid interruption. Some of the experts maintain that it's not. This is a very good example of the malice of croquet. The unfortunate brigadier has played with Mrs. Rotherham's ball. The balls have to go back and he gives up his turn.
From a leisurely sport to something more athletic.
For Britain, Brendan Foster from Gateshead won the 500 metres with a fast, late burst.
There'll be more sporting boo-boos in a future programme, but the one time we mustn't have any kind of chaos or confusion is during the news.
And we go to the newsroom for the news read by, I can't remember who it is, but over to the newsroom.
Well, just in case you're worried about what's going on, you are listening to Radio 4. We should be having the 12 o'clock news bulletin, but as these things will happen, our news studio is packed up. They are apparently running from one studio to the next at the moment, and they'll be there very shortly.
Well, let's see if he's made it.
Most shopkeepers now accepted shoplifting as an inevitable overhead. The estimated loss was £300 million a year. Attractive displays were often an intolerable temptation to people who were basically honest. The transatlantic oarsman, John Fairfax, is now only about 100 miles from the coast of Florida. The Coast Guard in Miami think he'll probably arrive there tomorrow morning. That's all for now. Next news, 11:30.
And if you can't stand the pace, try Radio 3.
9 o'clock, and I'll read you the news when I can find it. At the moment, I've lost it. OK, I found it. Here we are.
Once the news bulletin's been unearthed from the inevitable piles of paper, there's not much that can go wrong. Oh, yeah? With what's called an illustrated news bulletin, each live link-up's a sort of Beecher's Brook as the newsreader runs the course.
In Washington, General Bradley's speech today was one of several interesting news developments dealing with our military defenses. Here's a summary by Gunner Back. We seem to be unable to contact Washington at this time. Let's try once again. Our cue to Washington is here is a summary by Gunner Back. Sorry, we seem to be unable, for some inexplicable reason, to contact correspondent Gunner Back in Washington, even as we have contacted him every night for the past 8 years. Well, now then, to the nation's sports fans, the biggest news in quite a while is building tonight in Chicago, where world heavyweight champion Rocky Marciano is about to meet that challenge from ex-champ Jersey Joe Walcott. We sent correspondent Tom Casey to the weighing-in ceremonies today, and he recorded this report at that dramatic scene. Well, Mother told me there would be days like this. Unfortunately, we had been told earlier today that Tom Casey had recorded a very fascinating report at the weighing-in ceremonies in which he had the voices of both Joe Walcott and Rocky Marciano. Let's see what else we have in the news to talk about this evening on a memorable headline edition, at least to me. Suppose we come back to you in just a moment or two. On this cue, I'll be back in a minute with more news. Headline Edition is one of over 60 top ABC news shows brought to you each week by a distinguished staff of reporters, analysts, and commentators. ABC specializes in swift, accurate, and complete reporting of the latest happenings here and abroad. That kind of news coverage doesn't just happen. A trained newsman fills in the coloring of the event to life, but it takes an experienced correspondent to know how that event fits the overall news pattern.
In these days, when we have satellite links, you need a wide range of all sorts of experts to consult if something goes wrong.
I've also been on to Patrick Moore at Chelsea, and he said he'll be very much on the job tonight with his big telescope. We had quite a bit of fun over this, and they're all going to report back to me anything that they happen to see.
And I'll continue to keep an eye out, or rather an ear out, for more clangers from this wonderful world of radio communication.
So all in all, it's going to be a very interesting board meeting tomorrow.
Pardon?
So all in all, it's going to be a very interesting board meeting tomorrow.
Very difficult.
Very interesting.
Distressing.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yes, I should imagine it is.
Join me for the next programme, won't you? So, from me...
And from the British Broadcasting Corporation,
I'll just say, don't fail to miss it.